got into DJing when I was basically a teenager still. I used to be in bands and I've been a musician since my early teens, and after a while being in bands and trying to find a good one that I would fit in, I decided I couldn't and then I thought I could do stuff on my own. Also, it was about the same time where I got into electronic music to listen to it. So I decided I could try and do that and become my own thing without needing a band around to perform and to make music. And then really soon after I started DJing, it was kind of a natural move for me, being a musician, to dive into production. And so it was very early in my DJ career that I decided to work with music production. I'm a guitar player by formation. I play other instruments as well, not greatly, but I do play the bass and the keys. I started out playing basically grunge and punk rock, and I moved on to more like blues, jazz and funk, more advanced styles maybe musically. But then by the time I stopped, I was playing more in like rock bands. It was very obvious for me that music was a big important thing and that I was kind of born to do it. But, you know, like normally people have this kind of pressure from parents, from, you know, the social structure that you need to be like a lawyer, a doctor, like this normal things. And then my family is pretty traditional. And it's not that they pressured me into anything, but it's more like it was a pre-concept, you know, that I would need to go through uni and then go be something. And my choice was to be a dentist because I had a cousin who was a dentist and was more relaxed than being a doctor. So it was more like, it was not something I wanted to do, but it was something that felt like I should do. And then I started to DJ and to make music while I was in university. And I took both things at the same time as long as I could. But once I started touring internationally, that was really tough to keep going as a dentist and to be in the office, actually help people. And then I decided to just stop and follow through with the music, and here I am still. I love being in the studio. It's where I feel the most at home, but I also do feel at home in the booth. It's a different experience. When you're in the studio and you're creating, I get a kick of engineering as well. It's not only like the music making. I get interested into trying things with the processors and this kind of things, like using the audio in different dynamic ways, because that's also one of the main things I jumped into electronic music, because I got more freedom, I would say, for doing whatever things without really worrying about rules or results. So I could just do whatever. So that's a big part of the fun. And then but performing is also kind of the other part. Like in the studio, when I'm thinking about something, I'm thinking because I'm gonna be performing that later, and then it's an interactive process, and I don't think I could do without any of those. You know, I need to have both. I don't remember how I learned about the Goliath. I think it was one of those videos online, like on one of like NAMM or Music Master or something like that, one of the big fairs. And I was just blown away by the amount of inputs that you get, all the preamps that you get on a single interface. And obviously I heard about the reputation that Antelope had for converters. And when I saw there was a big ass interface with all those preamps and inputs and with a good converter and the converter for outs, I was like, this was in the same period I was considering getting a mixing board. I was like, okay, the space I would need for the desk, or this two, you know, rack unit great converters. It was kind of easy to lean that way for me. I was looking into the like really proper ones, like the API, the 16 channel one, or the Toft. But the Toft was maybe a little less than I wanted. But it was more about the 16 to 24 range, because that was enough at the time for my synths and for my gear. Now it's not anymore. But there's always a patch bay, right? And yeah, so that was the goal. And also because of the space I had, and now I even have less space than when I initially got it and thought about it. And now it's even smaller, but I could think of a smaller place because I didn't have a desk. At the Goliath, I found that I can get a little dirty with the converters themselves if I push them a little bit, and they will give me the dirt that I actually want. I don't know if it's dirt or it's just the quality of the sound that I like, that I want. And but most of the time, if I just pull it back a little bit, then I get a cleaner sound that I can process later. This makes my workflow a lot faster, and that was the first thing that caught my eye, like right away, like how I didn't need to be patching stuff back and forth anymore. The workflow with the routing was also something that was really right away simpler to use, and something that I kind of ended up abusing, like because I named everything that I had, and then it's so easy to just like load the mixer up, load the routing up, and I see the names, and then I just patch stuff in from that, and it's that was also like an improvement from what I had before. Those are the main, like right away. Also the monitoring, it feels a lot clearer, and I had a better stereo image than I used to have with my former interface. For once, everything is in there, everything is in the front, so I can control the preamp really easily from the front. The issue that I had before, that I would need to switch through preamp or line inputs, now I don't have to use it anymore, so it's faster for me to just, okay, I give it more input or less input, and I get the sound closer to what I want. Also, the processing in the input with the plugins, if I need to get a better idea of where I'm working with, because since I work mostly with hardware, having the option to treat them while monitoring, it helps a lot, because then I don't introduce a lot of latency in the projects when I'm working. It makes it less annoying to work, because when you start to adding latency to stuff due to plugins on the writing process, it starts to annoy you, and then it takes away from the inspiration, and you get like less inspired, and it snowballs into stopping working. And so that kind of reduced a lot my stress while I'm making music, and being focused on the inspiration of the actual elements, and working with them, and feeding them together. And yeah, for the workflow, also the routing things that I've just mentioned, it's also a big improvement now, that I can just drop stuff into the effects and out, and change places when I need to use another input for, I don't know, another synth that wasn't connected. I just routed within the mixer, and it's super fast, and it just speeds up a lot of things for me that it used to take a lot longer. I don't normally record through the effects, unless it's like EQing, which is obvious that I would not want to change later because it's part of the sound or something. You know, if it's like that, then I'll record it in, but it's very rare that I would do it. I tend to just monitor with them, and then if I really like how it sounds, then I would print it later. I'll just record without, and then redo like once I'm in the mixing stage. I would say the amount of inputs I get with the preamps and the line inputs, that's what really makes it for me, and the quality of those inputs and the converters. That's what really gets to me from the Goliath, to be satisfied every time I use it, you know. I've never been like working on an all analog environment. Before, like very early in my career, I was like assistant in a couple of studios, but they were never like full-on mixing environments. I was never able to really work and spend a lot of time with analog gear. So from the times that I actually did work on projects that I had to the chance to work with them, the ones that really caught my ear was the Manley Massive Passive, the Fatso, and the Shadow Hills compressor. So, and those are the plugins that I use a lot, because I really like how it's kind of the textures, they give me the textures that I like. And I've been mostly like a digital guy all my career. And even though I have a tendency to like more analog sounds, something with texture rather than super clean and modern, I think a mix of both, this is what gets everything so interesting nowadays. You know, you can get the best of both things all the time.